good morning. I am Reshma, Assistant Professor, Department of Computer Science, AJK College of Arts and Science. Today I am discussing about the programming language C++ related with OOPS, that means Object Oriented Programming Paradigm. So we will start with the section, that is the introduction. C++ is a multi-paradigm programming language that supports object oriented programming, that is OOP concept. And it is an extension of C programming, and the program is written in C language and they can run in C++ compiler. Then the development of C++ actually began 4 years before its release, that is in 1979. It did not start with the name C++, that is its first name was C with classes. In the late part of 1983, C with classes was first used for ATs and T's internal programming needs. Its name was changed to C++ later in the same year. It is of course also used in wide range of other application domains, notable graphics programming like that. C++ supports inheritance through these class derivations. Next, the key concepts of what are the key concepts or major concepts of OOPS programming language, that is object oriented programming language, that is related with the C++. That is, first one is object, second one is class, third one is data abstraction, fourth one is data encapsulation, fifth one inheritance, sixth one polymorphism, seventh one dynamic binding, and finally message passing. Okay, the first section is object, where the object is a basic runtime entities in a object oriented system, that is OOP system, and entities which is a real world object. Entities is a real world object, and object may represent maybe a person or a place or any item, etc. like that. And each object consists of two sections or two categories. They are, first one is attributes and second one is methods. First one is attributes, which is also known as their characteristics or data, and second one is method, that become functions. Okay, so objects of OOPS methodology that can be consist of two sections or two categories. They are, first one is attribute, second one is methods, where the attribute which is also known as characteristics or data, and second one is methods, that is also known as the functions of the program. So next classification or next category in the object oriented programming language or OOPS methodology, which is classes. So the classes is a user defined data type. What is meant by user defined data type? The data type can be defined by the user. So a class is a user defined data type which has data members and member function. They can be consist of two sections, that is, first one is data members and second one is member functions. The data members are the data variable and the member functions are the function used to manipulate these variables. And together these data members and member functions defines the properties and behavior of the objects in a class. Next one, the second category, which is object in the OOPS methodology, where the object is an instance of class. Object is an instance of class. When a class is defined, no memory is allocated. When simply we will have to explain or we will have to declare a class, no memory will be allocated. But when it is instantiated, then only the memory is allocated. For example, in our real life, apple, orange and mangoes are the fruits. They are under the category of fruit section. So fruit is the class and apple, orange, mangoes, they are the objects in the class. So this is the first two section that is meant by, first one is class, second one is object. Class is a user defined data type which has the data member and member function, and object which is the instance of class. When object is or class is defined, no memory is allocated. It is instantiated, then only the memory is allocated. Third one is abstraction, the third category or third level, which is data abstraction in OOPS methodology. That is, it's a process of providing only essential information about the data to the outside world and hiding the background details or implementation known as data abstraction. Okay, providing only the essential features or essential factors. They are hiding the background details or background working of the program. That process which is known as data abstraction. And the example of data abstraction is that consider real life example, that is a man driving a car. The man only knows the pressing the accelerator will increase and the speed of the car, or applying brakes will stop the car, but he does not know about how on processing accelerator the speed is actually increasing, or he does not know about the inner mechanism of the car or the implementation of the accelerator, brakes, etc. in the car. This is what abstraction is. For the abstraction, which means that they are only give the only essential information to the outside world, but hiding the background details or implementation, the process which is known as data abstraction. And next one is encapsulation. Encapsule. What is meant by encapsule or capsule? Capsule in the sense wrapping up of the data into a single unit, that's a process which is known as encapsulation. That's the fourth category in OOPS methodology. The official address or official explanation of encapsulation in OOPS methodology is that encapsulation is defined as a wrapping up of data and information under a single unit. In object-oriented programming, encapsulation is defined a binding together the data and function that manipulate them. So this is the basic explanation about the encapsulation, that is wrapping up of or collecting up of the data into a different types of data into a single unit, that process which is known as encapsulation. So the example of encapsulation is that in a company there are different sections like the account section, finance section, sales sections, etc. like that. The finance section handle all the financial transactions and keep records of all data related to that finance. Similarly, the sales section handles all the sales related activities and keeps records of all the sales. Now, there may arise a situation when for some reason an official from the financial sections needs all the data about sale in a particular month. In this case, he is not allowed to directly access the data of a sales section. He will first have to contact some other officers in the sales section and then request him to give other particular data. This is what encapsulation is. Here is the data of sales section and employees that can manipulate them are wrapped under a single name, that is sales section. This is the basic concept, or this is a real world explanation about what is encapsulation. Before explaining about that, we will understand what is the word meaning of the real word meaning of the word. That is what encapsule, encapsulation. Encapsule in the sense wrapping up of or collecting up of the data into a single unit, that process which is known as encapsulation. Okay, this is the third classification of fourth classification of object-oriented programming section in C++ programming or OOPS methodology. Next one is inheritance. What is meant by inheritance or inherit? Inherit in the sense which is a process by which objects of one class acquire the properties of another class. We have to consider the son-dad relationship where the properties of fathers are inherited by his sons. So that process which is known as inheritance or inherited. Inherited in the sense some properties from superclass can acquire the base class. That the phenomenon which is known as inheritance. Next one is next classification which is known as polymorphism. Polymorphism is the ability of a function to take more than one form. Ability of a function to take more than one form, that process which is known as polymorphism. Okay, the operation may exhibit different behaviors in different instances. The behavior depends upon the types of data used in the operation. So polymorphism is the definition of polymorphism, which is the ability of a function to take more than one form. And also an operation may exhibit different behaviors in different instances. Okay, the real life example of polymorphism is that a person at the same time can have different characteristics. For example, like a woman at the same time she is a mother and she is a wife, she is an employee. Okay, so the same person possesses different behaviors in different situations. That process or that phenomena which is known as polymorphism. This is the next category in OOPS methodology. Okay, polymorphism, which is the ability of a function to perform or ability of a function to take more than one form, and in operation may exhibit different behaviors in different instances, and the behavior depends upon the types of data used in the operation. Next category is dynamic binding. The dynamic binding refers to the linking of procedure call to the call to be executed in the response to the call. So this is the just basic classification of object-oriented programming or OOPS methodology. Next one is message passing. And object-oriented programming consists of set of objects that communicate with each other. And the objects communicate with one another by sending and receiving information much the same way as people pass message to one another. A message for an object is a request for execution of a procedure and therefore will invoke a function in the receiving object that generates a desired result. And message passing involves specifying the name of the object and the name of the function messages and the information to be sent. So message passing generally which is a sender receiver communication. So this is the next classification of OOPS methodology or object oriented paradigm. And next one is, this is overall about what is object-oriented programming language or object-oriented methodology used in C++ programming and what are the classifications of OOPS methodology. Next one is, what are the advantages of OOPS methodology? They are, first one is that using inheritance we can eliminate redundant code of using of existing class. And second one is using data hiding the data. The programmer helps to build more secure program comparing with other programs. And using encapsulation helps to packing of data and functions into a single unit. Then using message passing techniques used for communication between objects and software complex can be easily managed. Code reuse and recycling, faster development, lower cost of development, higher quality of software, improve software maintainability, improve software productivity, and easy to partition the work in a project-based object, and it is possible to have multiple objects. So object-oriented programming and OOPS have more advantages comparing with the other programming language paradigms. And some disadvantages are the first one, it requires more data protection comparing with other methodology, and inability to work with the existing system and large programming size and not suitable for all types of problems. For smaller problem, it is in general not suitable. Okay, this is a major disadvantages of OOPS methodology. OOPS methodology. Next one is, what are the parts of the C++ programming language? They are, first one is include file sections. So C++ program also depends upon some header files for function definition. Not only C++ programming, all other programming languages are depends upon their header files. That is, each header file has an extension that is .h. The file should be included using #include directive as per the format given below. For example, #include iostream.h. So in this example, iostream.h file is included. All the definitions and prototypes of functions defined in this file are available in the current program, and the header files are included at the top of the program so that they can be accessible from any part of the program. So the header files can be included or in front of the program. So all the files or all the accessible can be done through any part of the program. Next one is class declaration or definition. Declaration of a class is done in this section by a class section. It is also possible to declare a class after the main function or function main, but it is better to declare it before main function. And third one is class function definitions. That is, this part contains definitions of functions. The functions definition can be done outside or inside the class. And last one is, fourth classification is the main function. The main function is C++ program always start execution from main function. So parts of the C++ program include, first one include file section, second one they are class declaration or definition, third one is class function definition, and fourth one is the main function. Okay, then what are the input and output in C++ programming? In C++, input and output are performed in the form of sequence of bytes or sequence of memory. That sequence of bytes or that sequence of memory which is commonly known as strings. So in C++, inputs and outputs are performed in the form of sequence of bytes or a sequence of memory, that process which is known as strings. The streams can be classified by two sections. They are, first one is input stream, second one is output stream. So first one, input stream, which is that if the direction of flow of bytes is from the device to the main memory. What are the device? That is keyboards like that. So device to the main memory, that process which is called input stream, and output stream which is vice versa, that is the direction of flow of bytes which is in opposite direction, that is from main memory to device. What is a device? That is this display screen. This process which is known as output stream. So the process form of sequences or sequences of bytes or memory, that process which is known as streams. Well, the streams can be classified by two sections, that is input stream and second one is output stream. Well, the input stream which is that if the direction of flow of bytes in from the device to memory, that is known as input stream. Vice versa, that is memory to device, that process which is known as output stream. Next one is heterofiles, that is available in C++ for input and output operations. That is, first one is IO stream. IO stream stands for standard input output stream. These heterofiles contain definition to the objects like C-in, C-out, C-error, etc. like that. The two keywords C-out in C++ and C-in in C++ are used very often for printing outputs and taking inputs respectively. These two are the most basic methods of taking input and printing output in C++. By using C-in and C-out in C++, one most include the header file, that is IO stream in the program. Next one is standard output stream, C-out. Usually, the standard output device is the display screen. The C++ C-out statement in this instance of the outstream class. It is used to produce output on the standard output device, which is usually the display screen. The data needed to display on the screen inserted in the standard output stream C-out using the insertion operations. Okay, so output statement expressions, all the expressions are computed and then outputted. Next one is standard input stream, that is C-in. Standard output stream which is C-out, standard input stream which is C-in. Usually the input device in a computer is a keyboard. Usually a input device in a computer which is a keyboard. C++ in statement in the instance of the class IO stream, and it is used to read input from the standard input device which is usually a keyboard. The extraction operator is used along with the object C-in for the reading inputs. The extraction operator extracts the data from the object by using C in the keyboard. Okay, next one is what is escape sequences. The black slash is called the escape character. It tells the compiler that the next character is escaping. It's a typical definition and it's using its secondary definition. The examples are, first one is new line, horizontal tab, backlash, double quotes, etc. like that. The first one is new line. New line which is used to advance the cursor to start of the next line rather than to be next space. Always in the output of all program if statements. Next one is type of tokens in C++ programming. That is the smallest individual unit of a program which is known as tokens. Well, the tokens are divided into several categories. They are, first one is keywords, variables, constants, special characters, operators. First one is keywords. Keywords are reserved both by the compiler and have fixed meanings. And second one is identifiers. Identifiers are the name of variables, functions and arrays, etc. They are user-defined names, consisting of a sequence of letters and digits with a letter first character. There are certain rules that should be followed while naming identifiers. First one is they must begin with a letter or underscore, and they must containing of only one letter, digits, underscore. No other special character is allowed. It should not be a keyword. It must not contain white space. It should be up to 31 character long as only the first 31 characters are significant. Next one is constant. Constant are also like normal variables, but the only difference is their values cannot be modified by the program once they are defined. Constants refers to the fixed values. They are also called literals. Using const keyword to define constants is as simple as defining variables. The difference is you will have to proceed the definition with the const keyword. Next one is special symbols. The following special symbols are used to see having some special meanings and cannot be used for some other purposes. Braces, semicolon, comma, a hash, equal to, like a star, like that. First one is brackets. Opening and closing brackets are used as array element reference. This indicates single and multi-dimensional subscripts. Second one, parentheses. These special symbols are used to indicate function calls and function parameters. Next one, braces. These openings and ending curly braces mark the start and end of a block of code containing more than one executable statement. Next one, comma. It is used to separate more than one statement, like for separating parameters in function calls. Next one, colon. It is an operator that essentially invokes something called an initialization list. Next one, semicolon. It is known as statement terminator. It indicates the end of one logical entity. That's why each individual statement must be entered with a semicolon. Next one is assignment operator. It is used to assign the value. Next one is preprocessor. The preprocessor is a microprocessor that is used automatically by the compiler to transform your program before actual compilation. Next topic is operators. They are used in C++ programming. Operators are the symbol that trigger an action when applied to C++ variables and other objects. The data items on which operators acts upon are called operands. The data items in the operator section, which is called operands. Depending on the number of operands that an operator can act upon, operators can be classified as follows. That is, first section is unary operator. Those operators that require only a single operand to act upon are known as unary operator. For example, increment and decrement operator. Next one is binary operator. Those operators that require two operands to act upon are called binary operators. Next one is what are the data types in C++ programming. The data types are classified with three sections. That is, first one is primary, second one is deriver, third one is user defined data types. The primary data types include integer, character, boolean, floating point, double floating point, void character, like that. Derived data types include functions, array, pointers, reference, like that. And user defined data types, that is defined by the user data types, that can be include class, structures, union, enum, and type prefix, like that. So first one is integer. Keyword user for integer data type is int. Integers typically requires 4 bytes of memory space and ranges from some value to some value, like that. Character data type is used for storing characters, okay, and the keyword that can be used in character data type is char. Next one is boolean. Boolean data type is used for storing boolean or logical values. A boolean value can store either true or false. Boolean used for boolean data type is bool. Keyword that can be used for boolean data type is bool. Next one is floating point. Floating point data type is used for storing single precision floating point values or decimal values. Keywords used for floating point data type is float. Float variables typically requires 4 byte or memory space. Next one is double floating point. Double floating point data types is used for storing double precision floating point values or decimal values. Keywords used for double floating point data types values double. Double variables typically requires 8 bytes of memory space. Next one is void. Void means without any value. Void data type represents a valueless entity. Void data types is used for those functions which does not return value. Next one is variable declaration and initialization in C++ programming. A variable is used to store values, and every variable has a memory location. The memory location are used to store the values of the variables. The variable can hold a single value at a time. The variable can hold a single value at a time. The value of variables varies, that is the integer variable may contain the value of 2, 3, 3, 3 and so on, like that. The programmer can change contents of the variable, thus the identifier that hold varying values is called variables. And what is variable initialization? Assigning a value to a variable that processor, or that is known as, is called variable initialization. When a variable is declared, appropriate number of bytes are reserved for its random access memory. And next one is what is decision making statements in C++ programming. Decision making statements work on the basis of a particular condition. That is, decision making statements in programming language decides the direction of flow of program execution. And decision making statements are available in C++ programming. They are if statement, if else statement, if else if ladder, and nested if, and finally switch statement. So what is meant by simple if statement? Simple if statement contains an expression. This expression is evaluated. And next one is if the expression is evaluated true, it executes the statement inside the if block. If the expression is evaluated, it skips the statement inside the if block and executes the statement immediately the following if block. Next is if-else if ladder. Here a user can decide among multiple options. The C++ if statements are executed from top down. And nested if in the sense, a nested if statement in C++ is an if statement that is the target of another if statement. Nested if statements means an if statement inside another if statement. Last one is switch case statement. The switch statement is a multi-way branch statement. This statement requires only one argument, which then check out with number of case options. Okay. Next one is what is looping or iterating statements. Loops in a program comes into use when we need to repeatedly execute a block of statements. The loop will get executed repeatedly until a certain condition remains true. There are mainly two types of loop, that is entry control loop and second one is exit control loop. Entry control loop, that is in this type of loop the test condition is tested before entering the loop body. For loop and while loops are the entry control loop, and next one is exit control loop. In this type of loop the test condition is tested or evaluated at the end of the loop body. Therefore the loop body will execute at least once irrespective of whether the test condition is true or false. Do while loop is exit control loop. Okay. Next one is what is for loop. The for loop allows the execution of set of instructions until a condition is met. And what is while loop? The while loop, which is the body of the loop statement, will be executed repeatedly till the condition is true. That is, the test condition is evaluated, and if the condition is true, then the body of loop is executed. What is do while loop? The difference between while loop and do while loop is the place where the condition is to be tested. Okay, nested loop in the sense, nested loop means a loop of statement inside another loop statement. Jump statement is that jump statements are used to manipulate the flow of program if some conditions are met. It is used to terminating or continues the loop inside a program or to stop the execution of a function. In C++, there is 4 jump statements. They are: first one is continue, second one is break, third one is return, and fourth one is go to. The break statement is that it is used to terminate the whole loop if the condition is met. It breaks the loop and the remaining part of the loop is not executed. The continue statement is that it is used to execute other parts of the loop while skipping some parts declared inside the condition. Rather than terminating the loop, it continues the execute the next iteration of the same loop. The go to statement is that the statement is used to jump directly to that part of the program which is being called. Every go to statement is associated with a label which takes them to part of the program for which they are called. The label statements can be written anywhere in the program. It is not necessary to use before or after go to statement. And next topic is what are the functions in C++. A function is a set of statements that takes input, do some specific computations, and produces some outputs. And that idea is to put some commonly or repeatedly done tasks together and make a function so that instead of writing the same code again and again for different inputs, we can call the function. The function call is that, next one is function call. The function call is that while creating a C++ function, you give a definition of what the function has to do. To use a function, you will have to call or invoke that function. When a program calls a function, program control is transferred to the called function. A called function performs defined a task, and when its return statement executed or when its function ending closing braces is reached, it returns program control back to main program. And what is function overloading in C++? Function overloading is a feature of object-oriented programming where 2 or more functions can have the same name but different parameters. The condition is that 2 or more functions have same name but different parameters. When a function name is overloaded with a different jobs, it is called function overloading. And what is inline function? Where inline function in C++ is an optimization feature that reduces the execution of time of the program. Using inline function save the time to transfer the control of the program from the calling function to definition of the called function. This is overall the first unit or the basic concept in OOPS methodology by using C++ programming. Thank you.